that is just delusional. Some people that believe that because they've been here for 20 years, they've gone through the struggle, and they believe that you should also go through that struggle. Then you need to find yourself out of that community. You need to find your way out of that circle. The experience that they're coming with from their country did not really apply to this place. It's enough of us lying to ourselves that if you come to Germany, you don't need to learn the language. You can. But for people like us that our families are not close by, what do you have to do? Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Evelyn. If you're here, welcome. I'm sure you must have seen the title of this video. So how are you guys doing? Just you're fine? And yeah, let's just jump right into the video because I have a lot to say. 7 years ago, it's going to be 7 years in a couple of weeks. 7 years ago, I packed my bags, I followed man to Germany, and here are my strong opinions on what I feel about moving to Germany. I'm talking about what I've learned, and especially as someone who did not do any research when I was leaving my home country. And so this video is for you if you're considering coming to Germany, or even if you're just here for a few years and you're thinking if you should stay, if you should move, whatever it is, whatever phase you are in your movements, migration journey. So stay tuned. So 7 years ago, my husband got a job here in Germany, and all of a sudden our lives changed. And we had to pack our loads and move to Germany. It was also the year we got married, so all my married life has always been in Germany. Yeah. And even though I had like pre-knowledge that we were going to move, like from April, I already knew we were going to move to Germany, and I did not personally move until November, even though he came in September. I had like April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I had like nothing less than 6 months to prepare, but I did not. I continued working. I continued processing my visa. I don't know, maybe I thought that it was not going to work, or it was not, or the visa was not going to come. I did not focus on the country I was going to. I think another reason was because I was working in the financial institution. Work was tight. I had targets and all that, so I was just focused on work and all that. So after my husband moved, I just directed all my attention on work. He moved in, we got married by last week in August, and by 1st of September he moved, and I just directed all my attention to work, and until my visa was approved like last week by October, and then by November I moved, right? However, for the past 7 years, this is what I have learned living here in Germany. Like I said, these are my strong opinions. These opinions are totally mine, and I take responsibility for whatever it is I say here. So the first one would be that I think that I think that enough is enough of us lying to ourselves that if you come to Germany, you don't need to learn the language, you can get a job with English. I think enough is enough of all those videos that we've seen, especially of Africans saying that you can get an English speaking job. Yes, you can get an English speaking job, but I think that is just delusional. I'm sorry to use that word, to think that when you come to a non-English speaking country, you would come speaking English and not try to learn the language and still continue living in the country without any difficulties. I think it's just it doesn't make sense at all. I've seen other African countries like Kenyans and Cameroonians, when they come to Germany, they're already speaking B2 level, so they just move on to working in a German environment without any force, like without any issues, like in the health sector, in whatever sector it is. Find a lot of people that move in from Nigeria, or that I know of, moving through maybe job, number one, through a job, especially in the tech industry. And yeah, if you move to states like maybe Berlin, Frankfurt, even Munich, you would need the language. So we've told ourselves the lie that you don't need to speak German, just come in with English. And bear in mind that when you come into work, you come into work like you're doing a 9 to 5, you're doing a 40 hours per week job, and so there's no time for you to learn the language. And so even if you come in to learn, if you come in through job, as you grow in your career, you would notice that the language is actually needed. But by that time, you're really stuffed, especially if you're coming in with family. There's actually no time to learn the language, or very little time to learn the language, and there's pressure of work, family, and all that. So let's just stop telling ourselves that lie that, oh, just come, you just need A1 language. Also, that opportunity card that says that you need just A1 or A2, it's a lie. It won't work. Like I said, these are my strong opinions, okay? Also, there are very limited industries that you can work in Germany here that would not require the language. Even in the tech industry, a lot of entry-level jobs are moving outside Germany to countries in Asia. So what is going to stand you out amongst your contemporaries is learning the language. Okay, so let's just stick that out of the back of our minds, that you expect that Germany will speak English. Like, even me, like, I'm talking about, this also applies to me, right? So don't even think I'm attacking anybody. It just doesn't make sense when you're not going to Britain, you're not going to the US, and you feel that you're going to get by. First year, second year, third year, it's fine. And then when you start getting to the fourth, fifth, sixth year, and then it begins to, okay, how long have you been here? 7 years. Do you speak German? Not so much. I'm also talking to myself, so let's all of us just have a meeting, okay? Another thing that I have seen that I've learned in the past 7 years would be that, especially I'm talking from my perspective, because I am married here. Like I said, all my married life has always been here in Germany. So then your relocation, and you already have kids, right? Making that decision would be more simpler or easier if you were single, or if you're not living here with your family. But once family enters into the group chats, it becomes more complex. I don't want to say harder, but it becomes more complex. So making every decision in regards to finances, childcare, career changes and whatnot, every important decision is actually really good if you're able to take those decisions with your spouse. Okay, being on the same page with your spouse is really important. That is my own point of view. Like I said, these are my strong opinions, so this is what I have learned so far. Now, another thing that I've also learned in the past 7 years would be that my son is 4 years old, so bear that in mind. I've come to the realization, I think I came to the realization about 2 years ago, and I keep telling people that for 1 full year I was crying. Not like I was crying 24 hours, but when I remember it, I'm like, what? Well, what I've discovered is that when you have younger kids, I've come to the conclusion that to make things work, at least one person has to have flexible time. What do I mean by that? I mean that once your kids are still at the kita stage, I just learned that even when they go to Grundschule, I mean the primary school, you still need to have flexible time, because some of the Grundschule, some of primary schools close by 12, some close before 4, and I'm like, so if they close by 12, who are they coming home to meet? Like, so what I've discovered is that at least one person has to have flexible time, because for instance, this week, Thursday and Friday, my son's kita is short, even though they are going to give you the list of the days that the kitas are going to be short at the beginning of the school year. So you have to work your holidays around that time. However, there are days that, for instance, today my son almost did not go to the kita because he was complaining about some pain somewhere in the middle of the night. And sometimes the kita will just call you that, could you come pick up your child? Also, closing time at my son's kita is 5 o'clock. I don't like him to be in the kita by 5. Even when I go to pick him up by 4 o'clock, he's one of the last few kids that are there. Sometimes like there are just like 5-6 kids that are there, and thankfully, because he's now 4 years, moved to the bigger group of the kita. Notwithstanding, I don't want him to be in the kita more than 4 o'clock. So like I said, even on days I have to go to the office, I'm rounding up really fast and getting back home. So just back to my previous point, where every decision that you have to make it alongside with your spouse, with your partner. Even if you're taking a new job, you have to ask really critical questions on how many days do I have to be working from home? Do I have to come to the office? I know that not everybody can work from home, and I agree, I know, but I think it will really work if at least one person out of the two of you has flexible time, is able to work from home most of the time. And there's a statistics that says that the high percentage of people who work part-time are women, and I'm like, what were you expecting? Because number one, there's no provision for school buses will not drop your child at the kindergarten, so it's not as if you finish dressing up for the child and then you stay at the bus stop and the school bus will take your child. You really want to walk your child to the place and then find yourself back to work or find yourself back home. And then in the evening, if the kita closes by 5 and you're walking 1 hour away, so you have to leave by 4 o'clock. That's why sometimes when David has to eat, we take David to eat breakfast at the kita by 8 o'clock. There are some kids that are already at the kita by 7:30 to 8. And that's because maybe their parent has to work really early so that they can come early to come and pick them up. Now, that especially even applies more to people like me that our parents are not living close. For instance, if you're an immigrant and maybe your parent has American passport or they have European passports, of course they can always like stay with you to help with childcare. Or people that even have like their aunties and uncles and parents around, that can work. Like you can drop your child off in the morning and maybe ask your mom to pick your child up in the afternoon, maybe when you're back from school or when you're back from work, you can then pick up your child. But for people like us that our families are not close by, what do you have to do? I was asking a family in my church, their first child is already in the Grundschule and the second child is still in the kita, and I was asking like, at what age do you think like both parents can go back to like full 9 to 5? They were like, it's not as if we've also been able to solve that. I'm like, what? Like I said, every decision has to be made together, especially because as a woman, you're the one that owns the breast and you're the one that owns the uterus. Another thing that could also work is that I've seen that is of great benefit is, for instance, if you're moving here and you already have your career set up, or before you start bearing children, you already have kids. Sorry, before you start bearing children, your career is already like on a trajectory. Like you already started working, you have a good job, and yeah, something like that. And then maybe it's afterwards like you then met your husband or your partner, your spouse, and then you guys got married, and then maybe you already work like 1, 2, 3 years before you have your first child. Then you go on maternity leave, and then you start talking to your employer if you have to reduce your time to 6 hours. I've seen moms who had to reduce their working hours to 6 hours, 7 hours per day, so that they could have like a bit more hours with their child. Because even if you're working from home, having your child around is like, because the child needs attention. My son is 4 years old and it still needs like guidance. Don't go there, come back here and all that. But for some people, that it's when they get here that maybe they schooled here, or maybe they moved in with their spouse and they're moving in with kids, and the experience that they're coming with from their country did not really apply to this place. And so you are trying to say, okay, what do I do now? Do I need to go for some trainings? Do I need to learn the language more? And with considering that you have kids around, or you got pregnant along the line, that might be a bit complex. I don't want to use the word difficult, but yeah, it becomes a bit complex. So that brings me back to the point that every decision that you have to make has to be in collaboration with your spouse, like together. Also, your community is very, very important. In fact, the first set of people that you meet when you land in a country is really important, and does not apply to only Germany. It applies to all countries of the world. If you land in a community, if you have friends in a community that believe that maybe black people cannot get white collar jobs or cannot get corporate jobs, and your mentality is just framed around that would really, really affect how you move on. If you join a community that believe that you have to work for 10 years before you buy one accommodation, or before you get a mortgage, or you have to have this, you have to have that, or some people that believe that because they've been here for 20 years, they've gone through the struggle, and they believe that you should also go through that struggle, then you need to find yourself out of that community. You need to find your way out of that circle. Exactly. So with the community that you interact with when you land in a new country is really, really important. And for us, it took like a while. It took years for us to start having friends here. I've said it many times on this channel. It took years for us to start having friends or people that we have over in our home, people that we interact with, people that we hang out with, because we were really careful about choosing. We're really careful about choosing our friends. We're really careful about the circle that we find ourselves, because we know that as we grow, as our children grow, as those people grow, our children kind of interact with their own kids, and it's really important. Like, we're so careful about choosing our friends, choosing our community, choosing people that we hang out with. So your community is so important. So don't be, for instance, in Nigeria, it might be a bit hard, like, to pick the people that you hang out with. I think right now it's not people of my age, like, that I mean the consequences, and they are interacting with people they want to interact with. But I think here it's a bit easier to ignore or to acknowledge who you want to hang out with. If you don't want to hang out with somebody, you just define the boundaries and maybe you stop it. Do you have time? No, because you can't just drive down to someone's house and say, hello, I'm in your neighborhood, I just want to say hello. It doesn't work that way. You understand? So if you don't, you can be friends. If you don't want to hang out with somebody for months, like, it's little effort. Like, you just keep giving excuses, and those excuses, they don't have to even be a lie. I went to work, or I'm tired, or we have a busy weekend, you know. So picking your community members is really important. My last point will be that in Germany, I've realized that for things to work, or one thing I've learned is that it will be of great interest to you for you to be involved in the lives of your kids, right? And I know that when Africans move, or when people of color move, they usually say is to give my children a better chance at life. Okay, so it will be of great benefit to you if you start getting involved in those children's life from now. Back home in Nigeria, we believe that the community helps to, like, train the children or something like that. Like, you have a very large village of people that if your child is misbehaving on the road, someone can say, would you stop that? But it doesn't happen here. If you like, let the child be walking on his head, nothing's going to happen. So it will be important. It will be of great benefit to you if you're involved in your child's day-to-day activity, asking about the child when the child is back from the kita, from the shule. How was your day? What were you taught today? Did you play? Who did you play with? Did someone eat you? Did you eat somebody? Because it goes both ways, right? What did you eat? Who did you discuss with? Did you play? Did you dance? Did you sleep? Did you keep asking questions, especially when they are more vocal, and then going out for activities with the child during weekends, taking the child along when you're going on errands, which is not applicable, or which was not the case when we were in Nigeria. Whenever our parents were going out, they would leave us back home. But here it's not the case. When we are going out, we are dragging ourselves around. I remember when my mother-in-law came here, and when she saw that whenever I was going out, I was dragging my son along, especially when my husband has to work, and especially around that time was when we just moved to our own apartment, and David had to change kita. So it was still doing Angevolung. It was still the first few weeks of kita, and it wasn't doing full time by then, so to say. So after I take him to the kita between 9 and 11, and he comes back, I didn't want my mother-in-law to just stay, so I'm like, okay, let's go out. So we drag ourselves and go out. She's like, hey. So there's no somebody like a neighbor that you can just put him and say, okay, I'll be back in 30 minutes. I'm like, nothing like that. And then we enter into the bus, and we're dragging ourselves along, and we're in the bus, and she's seeing that family of 4, family of 5, everybody's in the bus together, father and mother and children, everybody together. She's like, so when you was going errand, if you're going out, everybody is dragging everybody along. I'm like, yes, most of the time it's like that. So I know that it could be different in other countries. I learned that maybe it's not so like that in the US, where you take your children along on activities, but I learned that in Europe is actually like that. Wherever it is you're going to, when you're running errands, you're going along with your children. And I think it's really important, and it's really good because they learn by example. Children learn by example. They're like a mop, and they're like a sponge, and they are able to like hold on to things that they see their parents do. And you'll be shocked. Sometimes I just sit down and I see the way David behaves. I'm like, you're just behaving like your dad, or I'm sure I'm like, you're just behaving just like me. I used to do this and this and that. So lastly, am I considering moving out of Germany anytime soon? I think I have to convince my husband first. I would have to convince my husband with money and other amenities. Of course, not money. Like I used to say, no country is perfect. Of course, if there is, we would have stayed back in Africa, right, or in Nigeria. But even as an immigrant, no country is perfect. No country that you move to is perfect. For instance, Germany runs a social system, even though there are some of the things that we could say maybe are disadvantage to people that maybe are earning more salary, but that's another story for another day. However, because of the you have access to adequate healthcare, and when people say healthcare is free, healthcare is actually not free. But at least for me, I pay insurance every month, but someone pays health insurance every month. So let's know what we are saying. Healthcare is not free. Yeah, it might be subsidized by the government, yes, but healthcare is not free. Okay, education, yeah, education is actually free. Tuition is free in public universities, which might not be the case in other countries. For instance, in the UK, nada. In the US, don't even go there. So however, if you compare salary wise, in the US you get to have like more salary, especially for people like us that are in the tech industry. You get to have more salary, and also this gun thing that is going around there in the US. Would you want something like that? Those are the questions that you need to ask yourself. And then if we look at it very well, Europeans like soft life. We like soft life here in Europe compared to the US where it's go. Another advantage that the US has over Germany is ease of doing business. Oh my god. That's a plus. And I've seen a lot of people that started businesses here, especially in the digital marketing space that I am in, and they had to move to US because it's more flexible for them, it's easier for them, tax wise also better. So those are the things that I have to consider and I have to lay, and both of us, my husband and I, have to like consider and look at the advantage and disadvantage, which one outweighs the other before we consider moving to another country. But before we move, we have to get a passport because we're due already. All right, okay. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. I was doing a YouTube video.